And we are live. Good evening, crypto warriors. Welcome back to the Gentlemen of Crypto episode 460. Today is Wednesday, August 28th, and I'm King, here to bridge the gap between the community and crypto, of course, Monday through Friday. Today I have a lot of interesting stories. Of course, I'm sure you heard if you've been on Twitter. XRP community is threatening a takeover if Ripple execs keep dumping. Hong Kong businesses begin adopting Bitcoin as a form of protest. U.S. Air Force partners with blockchain big data management platform. Drug dealers who use crypto sentenced to prison. And last but not least, French police shut down 850,000 computer botnet used for crypto jacking. So a lot of good news going on today. What's going on, Tessa Hall? What is going on, Will? What's up? Hello all. Let me get this article count up. For some reason, I didn't have it set, but let me get this up and going. We can jump on these prices for the day. Boom, there it is. That is not it. That is definitely not it. Let me try that again. There it is. All right. Looking at today's prices, Bitcoin coming in at $9,723, down 3.98% from yesterday. It's about a $403 drop. So again, we talked about that. You know, this is a little bit smaller since below 10,000, but we talked about many times how once it gets to that 12 to 15,000 range, I think this jumps. But a $400 drop is 4%. So again, it's not that much. Ethereum is at $173 now, at down 6.81%. Litecoin $66, down 7.7%. XRP. I can't remember who called it, so remind me in the comments, warriors, but I remember someone was saying they were going to wait until it hit 22 cents before they were going to buy back in. We are slowly creeping toward that. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago they said it's at 25 cents right now. The lowest it's been in a long time. That's down 4.49%. And Bitcoin Cash finally broke the $300 barrier. It's at $293.18, down 5% and some change. So market is red, kind of going along with the narrative. Now, it's crazy. Everybody switched the narrative. As I said yesterday, there's 3 different articles. Some were talking about bull runs. Some were talking about bear runs. Some were saying we're continuous accumulation period. Of course, coming in today, everyone is saying this volatility is it may be the start of another bear market. We shall see. And when I say bear market, of course, this is a bear market compared to the $10,000 Bitcoin now. So it can go anywhere from 7 to 10K. I mean, we shall see. But it's still good news is that, again, the technology hasn't changed. It is all the social factors around Bitcoin that's kind of messing it up. So we'll see. Clarence Dennison, what's going on? Clarence Dennison said, I just slid into some stable coins. So all right, so he's riding out on the sidelines. I'm not messing with this. Will said, going to get cut, trying to catch that knife. Okay, yep, so it was Clarence, and thanks. Welcome back. Clarence is the one who called Ripple at 22 cents. Clarence, you are getting closer and closer to that 22 cent call. So we'll see. He also said he's buying back into Bitcoin at 7,100. Strong possibility you can get that far. And I mean, I want to remind people too that it's on time right now that this bull run, this mini bull run we just had, because it did go from 3K to 10K. That is a bull run, people, depending on when you bought in, of course. But one of the things I want to highlight about that is, of course, that what is it? Oh, pardon me. My charger's going down. Bitcoin itself, I mean, even for one, if it goes back to 7,100, again, we're still in good shape. It's a good buyback point. But as I was saying, the tech hasn't changed. So regardless of the price point right now, you know the technology is at, you know where we've seen it at. And this time in 2017, since I like to compare it because I said this year was very similar to 2017, whereas last year was very similar to 2016. But in 2017, this was around the same time that the first bull cycle started to run out of steam as well. If you remember, it started in May. It picked up in June, of course, late May, early June, or is when I missed the infamous Ant Shares to Neo call because of some security issues we were having on this end. But, you know, that was the start of the bull run 2017. May, June, July, August, it still had some steam. But around September, it ran out of steam, and Bitcoin was kind of quiet until the end of the year. Once we got around October, November, it just started to slowly build. Then, of course, in December, we had that all-time high. But it only took 2 weeks for it to go from $10,000 to $19,600. So to expect it to just pump the rest of the year was kind of far-fetched. I mean, there are still people who expect it to happen. They're saying that, hey, this thing is a slight dip. It's not going to stop. But again, if you're looking at the charts and the trends, we're basically on charting the same path as we did in 2017. This was around the same time Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies ran out of steam during their initial bull run until late Q3 and then Q4. So to me, it doesn't scare me. Makes sense. I get it. Bitcoin is pushing up to 12, 13, 14,000. Again, there are still a lot of external influences. You got the SEC cracking down on everybody. ICOs left and right going away or getting locked up. There's money leaving this space, of course, and not a lot of institutions still coming in because they're on the sideline. So this makes sense. It doesn't worry me whether it does drop down to $7,000 or $6,000 or not. The positive thing is it's another chance to buy in again, and if not, good, the market's stable. So we'll see what happens. What's going on, fool, with money? All right, top story of the day. Kasha Tariq, if you're out there, log in, please. Kasha is our in-house XRP Ripple enthusiast, and he has a lot of knowledge about what's going on with their programs. Hopefully he logs in today. But XRP community is threatening a takeover if Ripple execs keep dumping. So you say. This came a lot earlier than what we expected, huh? I mean, how many times we have to say this? We know the XRP and Ripple community strongly dislike us saying this, but to us, it seems like it is very centralized. Again, I know it's not supposed to be as decentralized. We'll actually get into that in this article. But even if something is decentralized, if 3 or 4 people own a large percentage of it, it kind of still makes it centralized, people. And that's kind of what happened in XRP's case when they came out. But that's just my 2 cents. It looks like anger about the negative market consequences of Ripple selling XRP to its clients is prompting token holders to conceive of ever more ingenious means to fight back. In a tweet published on August 26th, Twitter user Crypto BitLord, and I actually met BitLord too, I believe, at World CryptoCon a year ago. Pretty cool dude. Quipped to his 102,000 followers about his latest scheme for a community effort, writing, "I'm thinking about forking XRP so we don't have to deal with the founders dumping. This will be a community effort. Retweet if you're in." All right. I don't remember BitLord's background, so I'm not going to try to even guess as far as if he was a developer or not, because again, at the conference, it was more about smiles and, people partying and getting to know people, as well as some of the technical side of things. But, sometimes we didn't talk about all the technical things. But what I will say, though, is that, again, somebody in the comments just said, I just saw the comment. Clarence Dennison says, so they're going to fork a crap coin from another crap coin. My thing is, if you were to fork XRP, you have to have developers in the group. If you fork it, initially it's going to work the same way as it had been working. But moving forward, 6 months from now or a year from now or whenever the next new tech for cryptocurrency comes out, who's going to be working on that fork XRP, right? That fork XRP blockchain. It's one thing you can say about Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple and XRP as far as if you believe in the project or not, or some of the things they're doing as far as it being centralized or not. But at the end of the day, they have a team working on it. I mean, that is clear amongst any other thing, because they are getting big institutions to sign on. And I'm very sure big institutions and banks are doing their due diligence with some of their developers to see if they actually are working on this thing behind the scenes. So you have to give that to XRP and Ripple, that they actually have a team that is being paid to work on this. And if you were to fork it, would you be able to do the same thing at the same level? So of course, that's the first big thing with an actual fork. Probably won't happen, but it is a very good idea, especially when you got 102,000 people following you in the crypto industry. Of course, it's a good idea to put it out there that, hey, this is something we need to actually discuss. Looks like Crypto BitLord's anger spilled over beyond criticisms 3 weeks ago. He started a change.org petition entitled Stop Ripple Dumping, which has secured almost 2,500 signatures by press time. Again, he's talking about staging a community takeover. He tweeted to Ripple's CEO and CTO, Brad Garlinghouse and Joel Katz. He said, Brad Garlinghouse, Joel Katz, you now have 60 days to stop dumping XRP or we will stage a community takeover. If it's a decentralized network, like you say, we have the power to do it. Again, people, just remind people who didn't know, Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, became the 5th wealthiest person in 2017 after CNBC pumped Ripple all the way up to wherever they pumped it to, right? I remember it was up to $3 now on CNBC telling people to buy it. But he became the 5th wealthiest person on the planet, right? Billionaire overnight, quote unquote billionaire overnight. So to me, again, no, that's not decentralized when you got a CEO of a cryptocurrency becoming the 5th wealthiest person overnight, A. B, it probably isn't decentralized, as I just said. So if you try to do this as a community, this takeover, I think you all will find out you have less power than what you really think. But if you do, I mean, see what happens. But also, let's kind of go to Brad Garlinghouse. They haven't said anything yet on Ripple's side as far as what to expect as his value continues to sink. You see here, the article says, he's done little to calm investors. That's one of the things I actually hate hearing about projects like this when you talk about investors. Right now in the cryptocurrency space, there is no project where someone should be trying to calm or excite investors, right? Unless you're doing a new ICO or IEO these days. Like, that part is sickening to me already, and I'm pretty sure that's why Brad Garlinghouse has responded. It has to be sickening to him working on a project, because us in the crypto space, we've actually been into it, looking at some of the technical things of crypto and how it could help technology. No one is going crazy about no one's looking at it just as a strict investor, like my money's here, is theirs, like, or going crazy. People are actually looking at the technology. Is it improving? Is your project improving? Is there a need for it in the market? Do you have a marketing team? People are looking at those things who really care about the project. I hate seeing this about him having to calm investors, whatever, because that's not what they're concerned about. That's not why they're here, or that's not the only reason why they're here. So they can have an entire slew of investors, a boardroom, and all these other people to tell them what decisions they think they should make or how they should do things to move forward as far as saving XRP's value at 30 cents. They're not looking at XRP to save its value at 30 cents or 27 cents or 45 cents for the investors. They're looking to grow XRP so that it is one of the most dominant cryptocurrencies on the planet, all right? And once that happens, you'll see those $3 to $5 to $10 ranges again. So for people to come out the woodworks after him as far as the price of it, I do wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think that's wrong. Again, a lot of these projects weren't invented just so they can get rich quick overnight. These projects were invented so they can start a new market and then take over that market. So that's my thought on that. And then also, Garlinghouse today actually responded to what he characterized as FUD, of course, fear, uncertainty, and doubt surrounding the project, attributing it to questionable sources. He added, XRP sales are about helping expand XRP's utility. Kind of what I basically just said. Building RippleNet and supporting other businesses, or biz as he said. Building with XRP, i.e. Dharma and Fort. Reality is we decreased our sales by volume Q&Q. And since then, the inflation rate of XRP circulating supply has been lower than that of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, I will cut them off there, trying to throw in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Look, whenever a project is getting pummeled, people love to reach the Bitcoin and Ethereum. I mean, whenever a project's going through some BS, they're always like, well, Bitcoin, this, or Ethereum. You say you wanted to be one of the big boys, be one of the big boys. Don't look left or right for some guidance or help. Don't tell a corny joke and then look into the room hoping your friend's going to laugh with you. Like, no one's here to help you. You're XRP, you're by yourself. But what he said about the first part, XRP sales are about helping expand XRP's utility. That's basically what I just spoke about. That I agree with. I'm in line with that. And I get what they're doing. They probably are trying to decrease their volume, because if you remember, Ripple had a ton of volume. That was one of the things with it why people say they didn't think the price was going to go to something like $3 to begin with, because the volume was so high. I mean, you remember he was giving this stuff away on Ellen to Ashton Kutcher. They were giving Ripple away, right? Because that volume is high. They want people to get out of it. They want to burn some of it. And then second thing is, for those who don't know about XRP's and Ripple's history, you might want to check the contracts. A lot of companies were already promised Ripple at a certain price on certain dates that they have to sell back to if that person wants to buy it. If you remember, there was a big lawsuit with XRP and Ripple already, where Brad Garlinghouse and the Ripple team, I guess, promised some coins. It's about a year, 2 years ago now. It's about 2 years ago. They promised some coins to sell company, I think, for a very cheap price of maybe, for example, say something like 8 cents or 7 cents or something. And then, of course, when it went up to $3 and something, that same company came back around and was like, hey, we want you to sell it back to us now at its high. And Ripple, of course, did not do it. They instead say we're only honoring this contract at the low. I think they took the court and the final decision wasn't made public, but the settlement sounded like, there was that sweet spot in between where they had to find a price point that wasn't as low as initially guaranteed or whatever, but definitely wasn't as high as the $3 range too. So they settled on that. But again, that was just one contract. The team has a few contracts that they owe people. They owe Ripple back to people on certain dates that these people can pull those contracts and say, we want our money. So tough spot. I don't think they're in a position to stop selling it. I think these dates are coming up. Again, this is 2017. Could have been on a 2 or 3 year revolving contract. Those dates might be here where they're like, hey, we're not selling just to sell to people. We're selling it because legally we have to. And maybe this contract has an NDA where we can't tell you that this is even in place. So again, I'm with Ripple right now on this one. For those people complaining, like Crypto BitLord, you should have known what you're getting into when it came to this project. Again, you can't call a project decentralized when you have a handful of people with this much control. That's my thoughts on it, but I'm sure you all in the comment section are going to let me know what the word is. Cool Works, what's going on from Atlanta? Dry Dessert said the world urgently needs another crypto fork. Hallelujah. Exactly. The drama is comical. It happens. He said, if you have a love life of a dog and you catch some crap, then if you invest in XRP, you get what you deserve. I get what you're saying. Yeah. The next few weeks in the crypto market, I mean, look, you talk about the top 5 or 10 cryptos. Just looking up here, everyone is going through some stuff, right? Bitcoin, same old same, getting attacked by governments worldwide. Ethereum is now getting attacked by actual other companies now. XRP is going through their own internal battles. Bitcoin Cash, we know what's going on there. Roger Ver may or may not be a part of the project. I don't know, but I know at Bitcoin, of course, switched over from Bitcoin.com back to Bitcoin.org. Litecoin, you got that going on with the dusting attacks and Charlie Lee basically saying he's burnt out and no one else is helping build the project. You got EOS, which is still in its early stages. So, of course, you just have your regular naysayers and yaysayers, of course. And then you got Stellar Lumens, who's just hanging on by a thread over there. So, I mean, the reality is most of the top coins right now are under attack, right? It's crazy to see it, but it's happening. And I think this is, that's part of the accumulation of why the market's down. They're all under attack from different areas. So we'll see what happens. Dry Dessert said decentralized blockchain code is law. No questions, no drama, no lawsuits. Exactly. I mean, it's very easy to tell in my perspective if something is decentralized or not. Again, it's not just, it's a decentralized everything, but this one person owns 80% of it. To me, that's not decentralized. It's decentralized. No one owns enough majority of it to change the course of history when it comes to this project. So that's my thoughts. All right, Hong Kong businesses begin adopting Bitcoin as a form of protest. I'm sure we've all seen it now on the news. The pro-democracy, anti-government protest movement in Hong Kong is spurring wider adoption of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Yahoo Finance is reporting. This is the 12th week of its protests and the uprisings that's going on there. And it's looking like it's prompting several local businesses and individuals to switch to using non-sovereign and decentralized digital currencies. And they're doing this actually as a way, they're doing it intentionally so the government can see it and so they can know, hey, this is a form of protest. We're doing capital protests. On August 26th, Hong Kong department store Price Right announced it will begin accepting Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ether at its 14 locations in Hong Kong. Of course, there were a couple other stores that poked their name in. But what's more important is that, it sucks it had to be this revolution for it to happen. But again, crypto and Bitcoin, it makes sense. Like Bitcoin specifically, of course, it makes sense, people. And if you, wherever you're at, if you want to wait for the protest to start, for the government to start, for the police to go out there and start smacking people around with those poles, if you want to wait that long before you finally say, all right, maybe we should adopt a non-sovereign currency, then hey, whoever comes with it, right? But it's one of those things where right now, everyone around the world has enough time to make this decision. And again, Hong Kong is a living example of why you might want to make it. Again, one day it could be you're fighting for democracy. The next day it could be you're fighting for your political affiliation, right? Who knows? It is a slippery slope when it comes to Tinder, legal Tinder being owned by one group or one person, as it is already. So again, definitely want to highlight this story. Hong Kong, they're using Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a form of protest to kind of fight back. It's a shame they had to wait this late to start doing it, but the positive thing is now that they're doing it, they'll see the power of it, and hopefully more people will start adopting it around their country. We'll see what happens. And even better, from the China-Hong Kong point of view, we can actually see how they try to stop it if people start utilizing it across the city during the protests. Because I can tell you what, if they figure out a way to stop it, that's going to be the same blueprint that every country is going to use to stop it. Tonio from the UK, what is going on? All right. U.S. Air Force partners with blockchain big data management platform. Now, this kind of read like one of those sponsorship articles, but whatever. You know, it wasn't a lot of news today. We'll cover it. The United States Air Force partnered with blockchain big data management startup Constellation. According to a press release from Constellation, the startup signed a working contract with the United States Air Force. The Air Force explains the scope of the partnership in the following statement. Air Force Research Laboratory and AFWERX have partnered to streamline the small business innovation research process in an attempt to speed up the experience, broaden the pool of potential applicants, and decrease bureaucratic overhead. Basically, what's going on is that a lot of these new technological advances in the military, specifically like the Air Force, now need the new technology to keep them secure, right? So it looks like data from different sources are disconnected, complex, and requires significant manpower to handle forensics, planning, and collection. Constellation says it can provide a scalable and decentralized secure data management platform that can be integrated with both legacy and future data types. The company also claims that Constellation provides decentralized security, not only to Air Force data pipelines with encryption, but also creates audit trails and a live overview of the status of any data source. So again, shout out to Constellation in general from getting this Air Force contract. The way I read into it, for the most part, it looks like this is just going to be the testing ground that they're going to work with the Air Force, basically IT department, to figure this out. As you can see here, they're talking about some of these pipelines and things that need to be secured, include drones, planes, satellites, any data source out there, right? So the way I read it, they're going to work with them as far as developing a way for this to happen. Now, I don't think this is anything where there's a solid product or project in place as far as, hey, by this date, we'll have this done. We'll start using this software with the Air Force. I don't think that's happening right now, nor do I don't think it should. For anything that they come out with this, in fact, I don't think the Air Force should be using it first unless you're talking about supply shipments. And I mean low-level supplies. I don't like cigarettes to base or something, right? I don't want to see this being used with the drones right now, especially, you know, they're saying it's decentralized and all this other stuff. Again, when we talk about this type of stuff, what blockchain? Which one are you talking about? Is this the Constellation one that's decentralized, or so you say? We're talking about a military with high-powered weaponry, high-powered jets, high-powered missiles, high-powered bombs. I don't want to play with a possible decentralized blockchain with that. I think we do need this in government, in the military, but it should definitely start again, low-level stuff. Let's start with the government first. Let's start with just voting or fixing roads with an app, you know? But again, I like to see that this is happening. It makes me bullish on all things crypto and blockchain related, again, because this will be the future. They need different ways to secure things. We're seeing that already with all the hacks going on from one country to the next country. Depending on what country you're in, they're blaming a different country for all the global hacks. So it's something that's definitely needed. Again, shout out to Constellation for locking down an Air Force contract. And let's see what happens with it, because the military are creatures of habit. If this contract works out and something positive comes from it, I mean, you can pretty much guarantee the military is going to open the door for more small businesses in blockchain and cryptocurrency and so on to start coming into and filling some of these roles. So hopefully it works out. I hope to hear more about it soon, and we'll continue to follow it. All right, drug dealers who use crypto sentenced to prison. That is right, people. The United States government has been lying to you. Our police are quite capable of catching criminals and drug dealers using cryptocurrency because they keep doing it. So we know they're capable of doing it. And right here, they did it. So, and I say that because, this is just stray away from these FUD pieces where it's just like all these bad guys are using crypto and we can't find them. That's a lie. They can find them for the most part. All it takes is police work. Will it take an extra 15 or 20 hours of police work? Yes, maybe. But most of the people you're looking for aren't out there on a killing spree either. They're out there selling drugs and other types of businesses where, depending on what country you're in, it may be legal, or another country it may be illegal, right? So you're literally talking about like another 15 to 20 hours of someone sitting behind a computer and tracing these accounts from where they came from, because as we know, Bitcoin is actually traceable. So looks like 5 drug dealers were sentenced Monday to prison terms ranging from 5 to 20 years for their roles in distributing various illegal drugs, at least in part using cryptocurrencies. California-based Wyatt Pasek was sentenced to 17.5 years in prison for selling counterfeit opiate pills. That is right, people. I want you to pay attention to this. In the United States, while we have this opiate crisis going on, I mean, we are putting the hammer down on anybody doing anything with opiates. You got a guy out here selling counterfeit opiate pills who gets 17.5 years in prison. But I just want to remind you, those along the likes of Ross Ulbricht, or the 25-year-old recovered, I think yesterday or the day before, they are facing up to, well, Ross Ulbricht already has his 2 life sentences, but the 25-year-old is facing a life sentence for what they're calling an unlicensed money exchange, even though all he essentially did was trade Bitcoin for cash before there were any laws around it. And there still aren't any laws around it right now, if you want to be honest. But, that guy's facing life in prison. The actual drug dealers themselves are facing 17.5 years on the high end. So you remember, people, don't try to mess with the US dollar. That's a no-go. You will get life. But if you just want to sell some dope or something, you won't get as much time, I guess. But looks like Arizona-based Kevin D. McCoy, Sylvester Rulas, Amber Worrell, and Peggy Gomez were the other folks who were sentenced to a variety of prisons. I like how they say a variety of prison terms. Hey, Daniel Kuhn, good writing, man, but I know you're young. A variety of prison terms, like it's a good thing. I'm going to give you all a variety of prison terms for selling heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine on the dark web marketplaces. Again, this happened on the dark web. They say they're using cryptocurrency, and they still track them. Don't believe the nonsense, people. All the defendants transacted with cryptocurrencies. Of course, they're not telling you how much or how many of them, which to me, that means it probably were not that much or a lot, according to court filings and press releases. Pasek, he was also known as, this is pretty funny, as OxyGod and Young 10X, spelled, of course, Y-U-N-G 10X. I'm assuming he had a budding rap career on the horizon with names like this. But he was also known as OxyGod and Young 10X on online marketplaces. He pled guilty last November for participating in drug trafficking conspiracy, money laundering, and illegal possession of a firearm, according to a statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California. Part of a plea agreement, he'll turn over $21,000 in cash, gold, and diamond Bitcoin necklace. Hilarious. I wonder how he got caught. A diamond-studded watch, 2 gold bars, and thousands of dollars in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies held in a blockchain wallet. That's the other thing I don't get. Are they literally like, unless you give me all your wallets, and you better not leave one out when we search this thing, unless you give me all your wallets, you're facing life in prison. How do they keep getting these guys wallets? And this is why I always make fun of, like, thugs and criminals these days. Like, you're not even a real criminal. Like, what type of criminals are just signing over stuff and giving everything up? Like, and still giving 17.5 years. Look, man, as Mr. Big said, you better take that to trial, all right? I don't know what is going on these days, you new young criminals. Authorities, it looks like, also seized gold, silver, platinum bars, as well as a Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl ring. They didn't say whose. AK-47, Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun, a 50 cal sniper rifle. Wow, and this was from a few of the other people. So, again, it is crazy. You can sell fake drugs. You can have all this contraband on you. And you still, on a high end, get 17.5 years. However, if you are doing anything to disturb the U.S. dollar and its dealings, you can catch a life, if not 2 life sentences. I want to remind everybody that is actual, real, fake law here in the United States. So they sold these drugs using Alpha Bay and Hansa and Dream Market. Again, all dark web places. And again, they were all caught. So I definitely want to highlight that the amount of years they received, or the highest amount of years someone received, where they found these people at, again, on the dark web, and what they were using. So they say cryptocurrencies, yet they still found all these people. So remember, all those FUD pieces about only criminals only using, we won't be able to stop them. You remember, good police work can still stop criminals, even in cryptocurrency. It is crazy, I know, but it's true. Let's see, what's going on, Milto? Going Bitcoin said they're going to blame opiates on Bitcoin. Yeah, I said the other day, I think the opioid thing might actually be the terrorist swan event we were looking for, because this is now the second story in 1 week where they're talking about opioids and cryptocurrency and Bitcoin specifically in one sentence. So this may be the new narrative. Next week we see another 3 stories. Then all right, next week 4 stories is official. Bitcoin started the opioid crisis in the United States. So we'll see. Dry Dessert says this is like putting the Wright brothers in prison because they didn't have a pilot license. You know what? That is the best metaphor I could think of. Look, hand clap, Dry Dessert. I'm going to say it one more time. This is like putting the Wright brothers in prison because they didn't have the pilot license. For those who skip history class, the Wright brothers, of course, made their first airplane in good old North Carolina. They're actually on one of those old quarters. But yeah, I mean, it's the exact same way. It's like you don't have a pilot's license. You're not allowed to fly in the air. We're going to put you in prison for this, for a life. And it's like, all I'm doing is innovating stuff, man. Like, what I'm creating, yes, this plane I'm creating could drop a bomb over a country one day. Or it could be used to transfer people to a hospital who are far away, right? It could be used for good or bad, but that shouldn't be the reason why you make laws and regulations around it before these things even occur, at the very least. Going Bitcoin said, that wasn't a Lil White one I said, was it? But shout out to Lil White. I heard him again the other day. It's been a long time. Harold George said, that's crazy. Ross got punished more than Johnson & Johnson or Purdue. You know what? Even better. You know what? Johnson & Johnson is a perfect example. I actually know a lawyer who's hitting up one of their cases for their ovarian cancer down in the South. Where, for those who don't know, if you use Johnson & Johnson talcum powder or baby powder or whatever, for women, it does give you ovarian cancer. I know the person who headed up that case, who I think so far has probably got 120 million of judgments from him. But she was talking about the Johnson & Johnson case the other day. Johnson & Johnson, I can't remember what's in the news. Now I think they're doing something else where they're fueling the opiate crisis by getting a bunch of people addicted to drugs or something. I didn't read the story. I saw the headline, but they were sued for like $500 or in something $million, which to them is a drop in the bucket. But no prison time, right? Still no prison time. Like, you're behind the dealing of the drugs throughout the entire nation where the crisis is going on, and you get no prison time. But again, you mess with that USD, baby, your ass is going down quick. Let's see. All right. Last but not least, story I definitely want to highlight. Let's give a shout out to the French police out here. I've never seen the French police uniform. Max Bodie, who wrote this story, but I feel like the police uniform for this French police lady was kind of sexualized. I don't know. Maybe it's me, but French police shut down 850,000 computer botnet used for cryptojacking. It looks like the French police has shut down this massive botnet that's been used for Monero cryptojacking specifically. BBC News reported this development yesterday on August 27th. According to the police, the botnet was distributed by sending virus-laden emails with offers for erotic pictures or fast cash, and further propagated through infected USB drives. The virus called Retad Up ultimately affected 850,000 computers in over 100 countries, thus creating a massive botnet. I actually was sent an email today from what it seemed to be from Netflix that was saying, hey, your password is old or expired, re-enter your password here or wherever. Well, I have never had a Netflix account, people, so I was like, a Netflix for my password? Let me actually see the email it's from. Yes, it was an attempted hacking attack today. It was a phishing attack. I get those almost every day. But today somehow it skipped through my junk folder and actually got to my inbox. But yeah, that's how viruses start. Of course, that's how they spread. And for those who don't know what a botnet is, it's basically a computer that's connected to a network through these viruses and stuff, which they can then use, the malicious actor can then use that botnet to launch attacks. When we talk about these denial of service attacks, where You try to get on your favorite exchange website and it's moving slow, and then next thing you know it's under maintenance, or the site won't even load. Those are usually being done by DDoS attacks when someone tries to flood the server of the website that they're going to, so that they eventually will either turn off or change some of their security practices, and then have somebody actually slide through and hack them. So when you talk about 850,000 computers all doing the same thing, if I have 850,000 computers, all would actually happen in Bitcoin in 2017, all spamming the Bitcoin network, trying to do 5 or 10 cent or 15 cent transactions, 850,000 computers all doing a 10 cent transaction on the Bitcoin network in 2017. It was what caused the transaction fee price to rise. Of course, that was the same time Bcash was launched and Roger Ver was saying, look, Bitcoin can't scale. Look at these transaction fees. He was using all these excuses. When meanwhile, there was some powerful actor, I wonder who, the only competition at the time was Bcash, or the only direct competition, but there was another powerful actor who was spamming the Bitcoin network with small transactions, which was holding the network off. And the way they stopped that was by basically increasing the transaction cost per transaction. So if it would normally be less than 1%, they were saying, fine, this time to do a Bitcoin transaction during this period, we're going to make it 25 cents. This is an example. But they were doing that so they could stop all those many transactions from being spammed. But if you have a botnet with 850,000 computers in 100 different countries, I mean, you are your own VPN service. You can launch all types of attacks, not only on, mom and pop computers. I mean, these are a botnet like this. You go after institutions with this. This may have been the ones that are going after exchanges and banks and so on and so forth. So for the French police to bring down this, and again, these were all civilian, people may not realize it, but 850,000 infected computers means massive firepower, enough to bring down all the civilian websites on the planet. And that's the chief of C3N, the French police cybercrime unit, Jean-Dominique Nolet, speaking on that. Again, he's saying it's enough to bring down all the civilian websites on the planet. This was a very big bust by the French police. So again, shout out for them to them. These are things we definitely need to stop seeing. And again, good police work, people. 2 articles. This crypto thing isn't this scary place that all these people think of. It is literally us just taking all our money and not having a bunch of dirty dollars in your pocket that you don't know where they came from, to just putting your money on cell phones and watches and pieces of paper. All right. It's not that scary. It's something very easy. I hope to see the rest of the world continue to adopt it. And again, a good shout out to the French police. That was really good to see. Let's see. Yep, Maurice Park said, yep, it was 578 million. That is crazy. S1 Dove said, will all that Johnson & Johnson money go to those to help those addicted to opiates? How about no? Yeah, I was about to say, you already know that's a no. That is definitely not happening. All right, people, that's the show for today. I know I ran over and went a few minutes late, but definitely had to get out that great crypto news to you. Make sure you smash that like and share button. For those listening to us on the podcast, thank you. This month has been incredible on the podcast. I think right now we're tracking over 6,300 downloads. Again, you can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and I think basically any other podcast app out there we're up on. So check those out where you can. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a happy hump day, and we will see you tomorrow. Cheers.